And we'll go 1 second on this. They get your video up already. All right, let's see if I go live. Okay.
All right, how you guys doing today? We got a special day going on. Let me get my screen all squared away. Who's that good-looking guy up there?
No, you're looking at yourself, Johnny. Looking at
You're on
yourself.
top, so that's what I'm talking about. Who's that good-looking guy up there? You got a pretty fancy house, man. It's all that money
Yeah.
you're making in the
All
stock
all of
market.
that's a real background, I promise. All of it.
Well, everybody, how are you doing? I see some people coming on in. Thanks for joining us at our real life trading open house. We obviously have a guest star in the house. I'm honored to say that I got Danny Jansen with me today and with you guys. And we're just going to do what we normally do. We're actually live on YouTube also. So hopefully we'll get some people coming in and we'll see some new people maybe in the house. Good friend of mine, Shane, is in the house today. So everybody say hello to Shane. And yeah, Danny. So Danny and I, if you don't know, Danny and I are both coaches, mentors, and extraordinaire. Danny takes the morning room every morning, swing room, sometimes in the afternoon. I moderate sometimes the swing room in the afternoon, but we're both, mostly mainly coaches and mentors at Real Life Trading. Between the both of us, we have about 30, I think, plus years of trading experience. I think Danny used to work for a prop firm, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to let him talk here in a second. And yeah, so what we normally do is we look at trades during this time together, maybe last an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever it is that you guys want to do and you want to look at. But over to Danny. I want Danny to say hello and introduce himself for those who don't know Danny J.
What's up, team? I'm trying to get everybody into just with the way we have settings, I'm trying to get everybody into the panelist section. So I clicked some people's names a few times. I'm not sure why they're not going, so I promise I'm not uh excluding you guys. I'm trying. But yeah, you're right. Yeah, so I was with a prop firm back when I was pretty much out of college, was also doing some stocks before that as well, before getting more serious into it. So um man, been a long journey, but then I eventually found real life trading, was able to kind of allow or try to really connect all the dots of trading, and just been doing it pretty much full time for quite some time now. So yeah, I think that 30-year number is pretty accurate, Johnny. By the way, Johnny, so you host this room. So for most people, I know we're on live on YouTube. We got Scott. Mari Mar is on there. What's going on, Mari Mar? Um, but you host this open house every single Thursday. So obviously it's for usually members, just to kind of go over charts and discuss stocks. But today we're just going live with it. But yeah, we have anybody in the YouTube land, if you guys want to be a part of this open house. I've been trying to rebrand this open house for you, Johnny. I don't know if you noticed. I've been trying to get it to be Johnny After Dark.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I'm
Oh
trying.
boy.
I don't know if it's gonna catch. We'll see. We'll see.
Maybe whenever you talk, people listen, that's for sure.
I don't
So
know about
Danny,
that.
we got a big day tomorrow, right? Out of Jackson Hole?
Yeah, so I don't is that 10 a.m. tomorrow, I think. But
Yes.
yeah, we'll see what happens with Jerome Powell. So I was going over in the swing room. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I didn't put that much weight on it for today, but we did have a little selling in the market. Maybe that's uh due to some of the just kind of nervousness going into Jerome Powell. I don't think it's gonna be a big day for basically for what he says and what he does, but interest rates are the main key. So sometime September when we have interest rates come out, we'll know a little bit more in terms of how this market wants to react. And maybe we put a double top in the market today, Johnny. What do you think?
Whew, I don't know.
It's a loaded
Uh,
question.
yeah, I mean, everybody's expecting those interest rates to come down. I guess they could say no. Hey, we're going to wait another month, and that might really irritate people and make people sell off. But I don't know, man. JP says he doesn't like to mix economics with politics, but isn't it coincidental that we're having this discussion that may happen tomorrow at Jackson Hole in September, 2 months before election time? So I don't know, man. What are you thinking?
If you want a definite answer, there's one person to ask. You know who that is, right? You got to ask Lucian. Lucian,
He is the economist of this
did we
group,
did we
man.
double top today, Lucian?
Look at him.
Um,
He's ready to go.
I don't think we do actually.
Go high.
I think the only way we double top is if he decides he's gonna not lower. And even then I don't think it'll double top. I think it might come down and then I think they're gonna say, all right, status quo, but if he doesn't lower, is it really any different than today or yesterday or the past year? It'll be back to status quo. They'll be waiting for the drop, but until he lowers, it's still a bull market. So I don't think it'll make a difference.
Yeah, I was thinking. We were talking about this a little bit in the swing room where I was like, we've really been rocketing in the stock market because we have a potential of like if you guys think about it, back in October of last year, we thought rate cuts, or the market thought rate cuts were coming in as soon as maybe March. And then I think it got pushed to like April, maybe June, maybe July. And the market has just been pushing up on the fact that we might get those rate cuts. Uh, so if he doesn't put out, yeah, if he goes with no rate cuts in September, I think we'll probably have a drop, but I think we just get bought back up on like the hopes that they eventually come. It's like just dangling a carrot in front of everyone's face. So I'm a little more worried after we get the rate cuts, to be honest.
Well, yeah, because it was, I mean, what's the catalyst at that point?
More rate cuts.
More rate, yeah, exactly. More rate cuts.
Got to lower it more. But
Yep. Yep. Yep.
uh
All
Christopher
right.
says the fact they screwed up the jobs number is more. Yeah, what was up with that revision? They were off by like a million jobs.
That's it.
Close.
What was it? It was like 600 or 800,000. I forget what it was.
Yeah, like 818,000 adjustment.
That's it.
How do you forget to count or extra count that many jobs?
Yeah, exactly. All right, well let's hit the charts, guys. What do you think? And by the way, everybody, if you're here, you can turn your cameras on. Danny, we got everybody admitted and
Yeah, I'm
turned
having trouble
over.
with two people. Two, that's it. Casanova, which looks like you're permitted to talk, but I can't get you as I don't know why I can't promote you to host. And then
How
Jeff,
about promote
I
to
tried
panelist?
to get you too.
Does that
Um,
work, Danny?
okay, there, I got everybody now.
Okay.
Let me just get Jeff on co-host. Yeah, everyone, you should have access to turn your mic on, hop on in,
Hey,
your
hey.
camera on. Let me see, Jeff, and then I think we got everybody.
Yeah.
And then obviously,
Hey,
you guys in YouTube land, unfortunately, you don't qualify. I don't have access to turn your cameras on and let you guys talk, but I'm watching your chat, so you guys can chat, and we'll try to respond to you guys as well, for sure.
yeah. Hey, Rob, how you doing? Rob is coming from Cape Town, South Africa. What the heck time is it in Cape Town, Rob? But aloha. Beautiful day here in Hawaii. Nay. Beautiful blue skies, trade winds blowing, just gorgeous. Hey, Handy Rams, if you have any question, you can email me and Danny. You can email me at Johnny, Jonny, at reallifetrading.com. And this goes for anybody out there. Johnny at reallifetrading.com, no H, Jonny. And then Dan, yours is just Dan at reallifetrading.com, right?
Just boring, yeah. Just Dan. Dan at reallifetrading.com. Pretty easy though. Shane, I accidentally booted you off the panelist list, so just join back in if you see any pop-ups. It was
Is
completely
Shane good?
accidental. Yep, there he is. I'm
All
just gonna
right.
co-host again.
So everybody here in live world. You can turn on your cameras if you want. You don't have to. Open mic, just the rules of the day really is just obviously just be a nice person. Don't hog the mic. Me and Danny probably would end up doing that anyway, but no, feel free to chime in, ask questions, do whatever you do, but just be a good person and don't be rude and be nice to everybody. And that's just being part of the real life trading family. We're all here to help one another. And that's why we're here today, to look at some charts. And I put together this team trading thing because, I've been trading for, I guess, about 15 years now. And I don't care how long you've been trading and how good you are, 3 eyeballs is better than two. So it's an opportunity for people to bring in their trades here, us look at them, us talk about them, us do analysis on them, and we're ready to rock it, I think. So anybody have anything that they want to talk about and look at right off the bat? Do I have any brave souls? We got JoJo here. I know she's probably going to say either like Tesla or that's her go-to, or one of those. Shane, we got Shane live from right down the street from me, my brother from another. What's happening, big guy? I think you're on mute, man, but it
Hey,
will work.
yeah, I don't have much going on.
There we go.
All right.
So I got one. So I went bullish on AMD early based on some previous days projections about where it was going to go to like 163 or whatever. And then I see Jeremy posted after hours that AMD bounced off the convergence between the 100 and 200. And he's like, interesting, like of course that's what happened. And I made me feel like a complete dumbass that I'm not seeing second level shit like that. I was so pissed at myself. Like, I don't even know. Like, it's gonna take me some time. I'm gonna walk around the block and cool off because I didn't see that. How do I see that stuff before I make the trade?
So Jeff,
ahead,
you were getting in because I think I took a AMD long today too. I tried. But you're saying that
you and I together. Yeah.
together, yep. Yeah. So there's a few things. Let me Johnny, let me see if I could share my screen.
And I'm gonna keep eating my ramen, so I'm gonna go off camera.
Yeah, no, stay on camera and eat your ramen. It's fine. Number one, Jeremy uses a simple moving average, right? I liked AMD a lot until I didn't, right? So the big support on this one for me, because I use VPOX. Also, here's the thing about the market. If we're all on the same page, we all think the same exact thing about the market will just never move, right? You need bulls, bears in every direction, right? So I'll see stuff all the time that Jeremy doesn't see, or he'll post something and I'm like, nah, I don't know, and vice versa, right? It doesn't mean that somebody's going to be less successful or have a harder time trading. It just means like you're trying to find the risk reward that fits you best. I'm a big believer. I use the VPOC all the time. I don't like the moving averages just because they're all based on past information. But until certain support gets broken for me, I'm gonna stay bullish as long as there's enough runway for it, right? So for me, I was like, okay, you know what? We have technically a retest gap today. If I get the pullback, this is where I want to take my shot in the long direction. The other thing about moving averages too, like we don't know, like eventually the moving averages break, right? Eventually support resistance breaks. We don't know when that's going to happen. So for me, I'm like, okay, if I could take a shot somewhere and I'm getting close to this 157.35, you guys can see the screen, right? Somewhere around the zone, that's where I take a stab at it, right? We've had all bullish momentum. Obviously, we've had a whole bunch of days in a row without any retests and pullbacks. And I think probably more than likely this is happening, but until it happens, I don't know. Right. So I'm more than willing to take a shot here. Now, going forward, tomorrow, not that I'm definitely taking a trade either way on AMD. Maybe I'll let it do its thing, but I think now that if we could get back to this 157.18, I'll try to play it the other way. right? So if we get that retest on a daily back to that zone, that's where I'll probably try to go short and then have some kind of stops up at like 162.49 and then lower that as much as I can to try to play the reverse because now we did break down that support. We probably head lower. The same thing though. I have I think Jeremy used the SMAs. I have the EMAs on my chart. I have the 200 right at 150.48. So could we see some kind of like sideways chop and just try to figure out the direction? Yeah, it's possible. We also have Nvidia earnings coming out next week, which I think is gonna be a big one for the markets.
Yeah.
The monthly and weekly 10 is right at the bottom of that too. It bounced off of that at close.
Off of that as well, yeah.
So
So
you've got
we're
the
kind of in
monthly
that zone where
support
we could
right
chop
there.
around for a little bit. Yep. Just kind of wait it out.
But Jeff,
But
I'm just trying to track what Jeff's question is. His question was more like, how do I see that? You just did not see the cross of the 100 and 200? I'm not really tracking what your main question was. He's probably
Yeah, I mean, Jeremy's post almost felt like he was foreshadowing it.
Mhm.
I just don't have that kind of vision. You know what I mean? It's like, of course this bounced here, and I didn't. It wasn't obvious to me, I guess.
Right. Well, do you do the Jeremy Newsom put on your pre-market high and low before you start off the day?
Yeah,
might
it's on my
help.
trading view. I got
Because it really
not
AMD really
pre-market,
just
it's
traded back up into the high of pre-market, right? And then came back down all day.
it did, like the rest of the market.
Do you have the set? Did you set this as a day trade or a swing trade, Jeff?
It was a day trade.
Oh, a day trade. Okay.
Yeah.
yep.
And do you-
It had good room to the high side for me where like the risk to reward makes sense. And honestly, I don't care if I win or lose day trades. I don't care. Right. I know I probably should, but I don't. Because I know just with progression of just trading over and over again, taking the same setups over and again, we have a lot of room. I'm playing more risk to reward than I am like this trade has to work. But if you're gonna give me a good location, right around there, and I from that point I got if I could get a setup around there, so we probably try to get in right at 157.30, but some kind of candle setup right around that zone. That's where I'm looking for support. If I get that bounce, I'm looking for a target at that point of like 163.18. So I'm like, that's my spot to do it, right? And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. We could have flipped it as a team now that we started getting under probably right around this zone. Let's see, unless the market just it tanked and never came back. But 157.30, we probably could have taken that flip somewhere right around there. 157.30. They didn't really bounce that spot back too much. Maybe this candle here. So there's your candle that kind of broke down, and then little retest failed, and probably your spot to go short was under there to try to play that flip.
Like a TMA 10 EMA to the short side.
Something to that extent. Yeah. Would that have been the 10 May?
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been a
A little
later
bit
one because your
higher.
first 10 May was actually here at roughly 950. But I can't take that one because now it's too close to where my support is when I'm looking for that bounce. So
Right.
I don't think trading is much like I have to see everything. Just to going back to your question, there's stuff you're gonna miss, and there's stuff that you might use that I don't use, and Jeremy might use that you don't use, that I don't use, and Johnny trades a Hawaiian market, so it's all different. But I think there's it's not really missing things and be like, okay, obviously that didn't work because you don't know in real time if that's the definite spot this thing is going to bounce. Otherwise, trading would be easy. It's I think how you react to it after, and not that you have to get in and play reversal. I didn't, but that would be your spot to do so. And again, even if you didn't take that breakdown because you're like, okay, we did break down, that should have been the retest, and you're just cold feet here. It did give you another opportunity because that became the support over on this candle somewhere around 11 a.m. That was your next opportunity to try to get back in for that retest on it. Right. So there's other opportunities, and we're all watching so many stocks every single day that we can't catch them all,
Yeah.
but that was your spot. I was kind of telling you, okay, we're probably heading down at this point.
All right, sounds great. Anybody else have anything they want to look at? We predominantly look at swing trades in this venue, but we can also look at day trades, just like Jeff's day trade. Anybody have anything that they have set up and want to look at, want to discuss? Don't be shy. That's what this venue's for. LW, I know you got something up your sleeve. Just
No,
throw it
actually,
out.
the only thing I have right now, I was traveling today. I just got in from Wisconsin. I'm in St. Louis now. Um, so I didn't really look at anything, but I'm still in that AMD trade from what, 2 weeks ago. That's why I thought that's what Jeff was talking about, was that AMD trade from a couple of weeks ago. I'm still in that long. I haven't closed it out. I haven't done anything with it. Uh it's like a perfect 618 retracement. So I'm gonna watch it tomorrow, and I may or may not. Um, I'll do either one of three things. I'm either gonna close it out and just take my small win, which would be about 0.75 right around here. Or I will I may look at getting in some puts for like the 30th if if the price is right on those, or I may just hold it and see if the monthly 20 and the weekly 20 hold here. It literally bounced right off of those right here. They're sitting right there. So depending on how this opens tomorrow, I may just hold it. I think with enough time, it's going to close that gap, which was my original thesis on this trade, was that it was going to go up and close that gap that's up here. So I may still hold it for that. I know it's quite a pullback. It was engulfing, but I'm not ready to just say it's going to plummet from here.
Yeah.
So I'll take a look at it. I may get in a put and, just hold that in case it does. I'm almost at break even with my stop anyway. So I really don't have to do anything other than maybe waste some time on not winning in the long run. But I may pick up a put somewhere down around 140.
Would you enter the trade?
What's that?
Would you get in?
Um, I got in. Hold on, I'm gonna have to look because I don't have my multi-screens set up. I think it was. I don't know where it was because I can't seem to find it.
You know what's interesting on AMD is this
Hold
even
on.
with today's sell-off, look at this trend line. We closed pretty much right at it.
My entry was 137.23 and I got filled on August 12th. So I've been in it, what is that, 10 days so far?
One,
Where's your
two,
stop at?
three, four, five, six, seven, eight
My
trading days. Yep.
stop currently is sitting at like 136.25, just under break even.
Got you.
I will probably raise that up to break even depending on what happens tomorrow, just to actually get fully into break even. I think it's probably less than 0.1 risk right now.
Do you have a covered call on it?
No, no. It's just a swing trade.
Okay.
But like I said, I may buy a put down around 140 somewhere if they're cheap enough, but I'm not even sure I'm going to do that. Like I said, there's such a minimal loss. I don't know as I need to worry about covering the downside. If I do, it'll just be out of, greed to make some money on the
You,
downside instead of breaking even.
you have your 618 sitting at 137.17, roughly.
Yeah, which will be just below my break
Yeah.
even point. So, but this retracement up to the top of this wick right here was a perfect 618 off of this downtrend here.
Yep.
So from the top of this down to here, it's a perfect 618. So it does make sense that it would reverse there. I just don't know if it's going to reverse there and come all the way down. If this is a wave two right here, then yeah, it could certainly roll all the way down and take me out at break even. But if this is, if this is the start of a wave one, we're just going to pull back to a two and then take off from there. I think it's going to close this gap at some point. I just don't know if
That's
I'll get
right
traded
in the
out
zone of where
by
my
then.
targets are at. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that too.
So I may just hold it until then and either win on it or break even.
All right.
Yeah, the good news is I think you have some days to wait. This uptrend, this blue line that I drew, I don't really want to see that break. We kind of got close to breaking. We're right at it right now. But even if we're sitting in with like a green day tomorrow, I would probably just jack my stops up underneath the green day.
Yeah,
I don't know if I go that far, but
opening close will make a big, that'll be a big data point for me is
yeah,
if it just comes right through that, then yeah, I'll probably cut my losses.
yeah.
Even if it just comes down, if it comes down and then I know it'll happen. If that happens, it'll come down here. I'll get out, try to get a small win. It'll come down one more day, and then there'll be a ginormous lightsaber candle that'll go whoop, right up to target.
Yeah,
If I know anything about the
it's gonna-
market, that's exactly how
it'll
it's going to work.
coincide with Nvidia's earnings, likely.
That's Wednesday. Yeah.
Yep.
They're
Uh,
next Wednesday. Okay.
Yep.
I knew they were coming up. I just didn't know when they were.
what do we think? Nvidia's
Yeah. I
going
mean,
to
I think
crush
that's gonna
earnings
have a
or
lot
no?
to do with what it does.
I think Nvidia is going to crush earnings. I just don't know if AMD, Micron, Intel, if any of those are going to be sympathy plays. I think they might be inverse plays, really. I mean, if Nvidia's doing
I don't
that
think
great,
SMCI I think might be an inverse play. I don't think I
AMD usually gets some sympathy, don't they?
yeah. So
I would think
AMD I
so.
think will benefit. I think if Nvidia gets crushed, so let's say because we're all like, yeah, Nvidia's going to be because that's what they do. They could miss. I mean, that's possible. We keep raising targets for them and everything, but valuation is not actually that bad. But if Nvidia crushes and they just go up higher, I think AMD will see some sympathy because AMD actually had good earnings as well. So I think that would be beneficial to them. SMCI did not have as great of earnings. So now it's kind of like you're losing the pact a little bit. If Nvidia gets killed, they will probably just come down.
And not that it means that much, but Jensen Huang has sold what 580 million in Nvidia shares recently.
Um,
How many does he still hold, though?
Who knows?
yeah, he's I would sell some too if I was him. To be like who somebody else, I forget what company it was,
would
but we were in
too.
the day trade room and somebody brought that up too. I was like, yeah, I would probably sell some shares like all-time highs and like that's how some of these guys get compensated. And so I get it. I'm not I know some people get a little more offended when a CEO sells some shares, but they have to spend money in their life. So I'm fine with it. It is what it is. But
Just letting you know.
long term, I don't think it really matters too much.
And
Well,
I'm
that's the
super
trick. I
bullish
mean, if he
Nvidia.
sold his entire position, yeah, I think that might be time to hit the panic button.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess how much he sells, yeah, if he's cleaning out all his shares, then I would be concerned. But yeah, if he's selling just a portion, just to take some money out and pay taxes down and
Yeah,
do
it's a
whatever you got to
$3
do.
trillion company, so 580 million is a rounding.
Yeah, still a good payday for him though. Well, not
Yep.
bad.
Danny, hey, Diana from YouTube land wants to look at TSM. Why don't we go look at that?
All right, let's pull TSM. There's another one that could get affected with Nvidia too, except
Yep.
they have the China effect with them as well.
Just a hair.
Yep.
I don't know. It kind of
Actually,
looks
they're
like
not.
the makings of a nice potential inverted head and shoulders. We got the 100 right down there. We got the weekly 10 and 20 holding us up down there by the daily 100. So I'm thinking if you go to the weekly, we had the start of a weekly engulfing candle from last week. So that's looking a little bit bearish, but what do you think about a bounce off of that 100 and weekly 20 down there?
That is quite the bullish engulfing candle that we did.
Yep.
August 5th, that week of. This candle doesn't mean anything yet. This one's still live. Otherwise, it is a little bit of a bearish engulfing candle on a weekly.
Is
Yep.
this all-time highs right here?
Mm,
Yep.
Have it.
Huh. I kind of like that for a swing.
what, to play bearish?
No, bullish.
Yep.
I like it when you get these big volume candles, and then you've got lower volume
I couldn't
candles
get
kind
in
of
here
hanging
though.
out up here.
I couldn't get in. I can't get in today's price. I would look for
Can't get into today's price.
I wouldn't be able to go like as soon as the bell rings. I'm going bullish tomorrow just for that
Oh,
swing.
gotcha.
I
Yeah.
would still want to wait for a little bit more of a pullback.
I
But
mean, you got the daily 50 right there where we closed at, the weekly 10 right there. What are you on the weekly? That
this
red
is the
line,
weekly,
is
but these
that
are
your,
all EMAs. And this is a 20
Yeah.
EMA.
that's your weekly 10 down there, right?
No, this is the 20, this is the 50, this is the 100, and this is the 200. So yeah, I don't even have the 10 on this one.
Do you have that's weird, man. My chart, my EMAs look differently. So what do you have your 10 EMA at on the weekly?
I don't have a 10.
Okay. That's just the 20.
It's just 20, yep.
And what is that at?
Roughly
One.
159.46.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yep. So I would imagine the 10 is probably a little higher, I would assume.
The 10 it's sitting right on the weekly 10 right now.
Yep. Anytime I see a bullish engulfing candle, I guess it still works for like breakouts and things like that too. But that opening price, this one right here, should be a lot of times the retrace spot. So even if this one comes down, and I actually would like a bearish day on TSM tomorrow, get me down into that zone tomorrow, and then see if we get a quick bounce, get some kind of hammer off there, knowing that the 20 is right there, giving us some support too. But I agree with you, Lucian. I kind of like it in the bullish direction still. And we have a good, let me flip this back to a daily chart. Daily chart would take me to look at this open gap that's never been filled.
Yeah.
That could give us room right there, just to at least 186.24.
Yep.
The 100 on a daily comes in at 159-ish. So that's going to take me that weekly retest retest of that breakout. So that's probably where I would look to get in long. I don't mind being this thing long. Longer term too, and this will have some sympathy to Nvidia as well. So if Nvidia gets crushed and misses or whatever the case, TSM is going to come down, and then all these spots you're probably looking more for like that 200 bounce. But again, I'm not in the camp of Nvidia misses. So
Yeah. Yeah, kind of dangerous right now if you think about Jackson Hole tomorrow and then NVIDIA on Wednesday. Kind of an odd time to think about taking a technology stock either direction right now.
yep.
Don't you think? But from a technical perspective, I mean, it'd be nice if we threw down a wick tomorrow and then just blasted off with Jackson Hole news, hopefully.
Well, let's go to Nvidia real quick because that's the one we're talking about anyway, right? So we might as well just go to that chart. I liked it a lot when it was closer to 90, although that was tough to buy it. But let's say, like, in heading into earnings, what was the all-time high of this one? The all-time high was about just over 140, 140.64-ish, whatever the high of this candle was. 140.76. You're only $20 off of that. It's still decent, but it's not a lot. Where like if I'm expecting Nvidia to crush earnings, if this thing by the time earnings comes out, we get some kind of a big sell-off in the market, and we're somewhere 110, 100, somewhere in the zone, I think that's your spot where you want to try bullish. Here, I'm still thinking like, yeah, okay, they beat, but even with a beat, unless they absolutely crush it, which is possible, but if they absolutely crush it, then you're gapping up probably somewhere above here, and this thing just takes off again. Otherwise, if they come in lines, a slight beat, anything like normal, not great, and or they beat and guidance is bad, something like that, Nvidia could from this point take a dip. So I think this is a very tough level to play Nvidia, which again, if this thing is anywhere in this 115 to 125 zone before earnings, I think it's going to be a very tough earnings play, and market is going to be just some sideways chop, I think, heading into it.
Mhm.
You know, it's amazing as far as their revenue is concerned. I mean, back almost a year ago, back in November, they had about $18 billion worth of revenue. Then in February of 24, they had about $22 billion. And then the last earnings, they had $26 billion. So they're not slowing down at all. They still got some revenue just piling in. This it's hard for me to believe that this company is the stock is going to fall much from here.
I think the
I-
guidance is going to be key.
What's
Yeah,
that?
I think they'll crush the numbers. But the guidance after that is
Yeah.
going would be.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one, Jeff. I think the guidance is a bigger tell is going to be a bigger impact.
yeah, if they got up,
Yeah.
oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to the moon.
The price is high, but the valuation's been growing on them, so it's not bad.
Yeah.
We have two comments in YouTube. We got Marimar and Johnny. I don't know if you want to share your chart but we have Marimar says, what about possibly shorting the NQ down to the daily 10 for tomorrow?
You can, while you got it pulled up, you might as well just pull it up.
Okay. Again, I don't have the 10 on my chart, so I'm not sure exactly where the 10's sitting, but if someone wants to help me out with that. So I mean, I think even bigger question on this one is I don't know. What do you guys feel about going short tomorrow in general? I think that's the answer to your question, regardless of where target is. I think the bigger question becomes, is this something that will get like did we just peak and we're seeing a bigger pullback? I think if the answer to that question is yes, then I'd say go for it. But otherwise, I'm still like, even with this pullback, yes, bearish engulfing now, probably flip this to a weekly, but you're
There's-
kind of at that support.
There's
So
been a lot of fading higher after hours.
Yeah, it's gone up a little bit. Here's my levels that I'll give you more and more for tomorrow. If you want to short, your spot to try to short NQ, I think would be about 19,673.50. About where we're at now. Your target on that one would be 19,576.25, pretty much to the low end of this range. And do you want to take everything off the table, take profits there? Maybe, maybe not. I'm not sure where that 10 is. But if you're like, hey, I could bring my stops to break even, have a free trade. If this zone starts to break, this 19,576.25, you get a much bigger drop. At minimum, I think down to like 19,470, and you probably have bigger targets down to like 19,335. So there could be a big move in this thing. Today was already a big move for NQ, but I think be cautious of shorts at this point. This could have been your short opportunity. Where you want to short it really is probably getting higher, like short closer to this 19,826, short close to like 19,861. That in a worst case, if you want to try the short, gives you better risk to reward than just kind of coming in here to go short a little bit lower. That will change. So again, if it never gets back up to this zone, then I say let it break here. You'll get that retest, and then you have that second opportunity to short. So that's how I would look to play it. But we've already come down a lot where not saying that it's not going lower, but I don't think you have really great risk reward at this point. You're still playing in a bullish market. We're still very bullish. And now you're going short toward the bottom of a pretty big sell-off candle.
Yeah. I mean, you're pretty close to that. I agree with you. The 10 EMA is I got it at 19,489. If you break it down, Danny, on the chart, look maybe at 4-hour chart. I think you got a pretty good target down there. I think it comes down there, but it's got good potential, I think, to bounce right down there off that 10. The other thing is, if you look at, I'm a big average average guy. So if you look at the weekly average, we've gone pretty much about, what is that? 478 when the weekly average is 8 something, which brings you right down to that weekly 10 EMA. So I can see what Diana's definitely looking at. I agree with you though. I don't know that you have the risk reward to get down there. I mean, it's been going bullish, since
Yeah.
what?
This could be this
This
could be a blow
morning
off top
sometime.
of the 618 though on
What's
that
that?
retest on a weekly.
Yep. Yeah.
So interesting spot, but yeah, I would want to kind of try to see if I could short a little bit higher. This is also a really good retest spot on the weekly too. But yeah, I'm not saying short I think is the wrong direction. It's probably not. I don't think it's gonna be the easy direction. Um, that being said, if we start breaking down, it's gonna happen quick. So just
Look at
I
the
would
hourly, Danny.
the hourly chart.
Yeah. Got a little bit of like a pennant flag down there.
Yeah, we also have the 200 EMA coming in.
Yep.
Volume, we're right into the zone that we have to hold. If we start slipping past 19,490, we probably get down to the 19,200 in a slightly bigger move. So
Yeah.
there could be some decent downside to this market, but we're not there yet. We're just not there yet.
Well, and you've got a wick that it just missed on the daily too.
What do you mean?
There was a trap opportunity on the daily chart
Oh, the daily chart.
that it just fell just shy of it. This
Above or
wick
below?
right below, this wick right
Below.
here.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, it could come down, trap, and take off from there too. So
Yeah.
another potential risk for downside, risk reward.
All right.
Mm. And then I don't know what the news is, but Chris, maybe you guys heard, but Chris says, what's your thoughts on Uber and this afternoon news? Not sure why it's trading down, considering Uber didn't need to do this deal. Seems like so. It looks like Uber missed out on a deal opportunity. See where they're trading to.
Says that they're gonna let you hail driverless cars from GM's Cruise next year.
Mm.
I don't know if that's what he's talking about.
What
Not sure.
what is the driverless company though? Is it Waymo? Are they doing?
No, it's Cruise.
Oh, it's
Cruise.
Cruise. That's the company.
Yeah.
Didn't Cruise get shut down or didn't one?
It temporarily halted right there in the middle under, down one more there, right there.
Hmm.
I mean, beautiful, like little flag pattern setting up here on the daily. Did you see that, Danny?
You're talking about the daily?
Yeah.
Uber's had a nice run.
Yeah.
It's really, really strong run.
Beautiful gap down there. $59. Looks like it needs to chop sideways or pull back a little bit in S curve. Pretty
From a
good
devil's
resistance though
advocate
right
point
now.
of view, they might be gapping down because people might be looking at the potential lawsuit risk of them allowing you to hail these driverless cabs. If people don't have confidence that these things can, function without having issues. I don't know. I'm sure you guys saw that story of, I think it's whatever that other company you mentioned, Danny, that had
Cruise
all the cars
or
that the
Waymo?
alarms
Waymo.
the horns kept honking because they were trying to self-park and keeping all the people awake. I mean, if that's fresh in people's minds, and now Uber's partnering with this company to allow you to hail from there,
Hold on,
investors might be
where are these
thinking
things
there's some
allowed
serious
though?
lawsuits coming if they can't, if something goes wrong, Uber's on the hook.
Waymo is only in Arizona or yeah, Phoenix, right? Arizona. That's the only place they're illegal, isn't
I
it?
thought it was what's that, San Francisco or something like that.
Is it in San Fran?
Yeah, San Francisco.
Where
Yeah,
is
I
Waymo? Because
think
that's the other
CN
issue. I mean, how big is this news if it's not allowed anywhere in San Francisco?
I, yeah, I think
Phoenix, San
CNBC
Francisco, Los Angeles.
reported that it was just going to be an extra button on the app or something where you're like, oh, I will accept a driverless car.
Yeah. If honestly, Chris, I think this is dumb. Just like if you're gapping down because of that specifically, I would actually give some weight to Lucian's argument that that's yeah potential lawsuits and things can happen with the but right now from at least where Waymo is allowed to drive, which I don't know too much about Cruise, but if it's only those three places, I know it's not widely accepted everywhere legality wise, not yet. I know Elon's got the little red tape on that thing too, but um longer term, I don't think this is gonna matter. Right now, it's also a retest gap. Watch this one for a bull move tomorrow.
Yeah.
If you get open anywhere above 72.05, if we start getting below it, then it's probably a little tough. But risk reward on a retest gap after a nice big move, I would look for Uber bullish tomorrow. That news seems like nonsense. Longer term, and again, I'm talking day trade tomorrow. I'm not talking swing, but longer term, I think there's probably more panic and just the news works with the charts sometimes. But you do have a good double top. You have like people just had the latest memories of going from $75 all the way down to that Monday on a $54 level, and we just absolutely cruised up, and we're sitting at a not meaning to say the word cruise because that's the company they were trying to do the deal with, but uh, I mean that's a big move, good recovery. Anybody who's trapped in there might be looking to get out, and that would probably cause a little bit more panic or more at least more selling and profit taking, knowing that they recovered everything that quickly and I think this one probably gets bought up. But watch where this one opens tomorrow. I don't think it's that bad.
Yeah. Got pretty good resistance at that 74.5 mark. If anything, I think we're gonna probably open. Looks like to me, good potential would be just to open inside tomorrow and then wait for a old JP to come in. The way I would trade it is wait, see if we can break that resistance at 74.50, let it break out and play the retests. Because we got good distance. The 10, Danny, right now on the daily is at 71.60, basically. So it's got some good distance down to the 10.
Yeah, I wouldn't like as a long term investor looking at this thing. Like this is not the price that I would be paying.
Right.
So I think you're losing long term investors from the spot. And again, when we go through, I think we even talked about it in our group, Johnny. But like when you're trading anything, you're looking for multiple levels. That's why support and resistance work so well. Where like anybody that was in here for a swing trade, if they just got in here for, hey, I like Uber, I want my opportunity to get into Uber. My targets for a swing would be here. Long-term investing, you're probably still holding, but that gives you a good buy opportunity. You're definitely buying it off the lows. But now those swing traders probably are hitting a lot of their targets up here. I would assume did it really quickly. The other thing is if you were in Uber up here and you just sat through this and your portfolio is just tanking, at this point, especially with those gap downs, you're kind of numb to the pain. You're like, okay, it's still Uber. I still like them. They're fine. But now you get back up in the zone and you start going, this market's giving me the opportunity to just not lose on this trade. And if I was in it anywhere from earlier, I could lock some gains. So this is going to be a big area, I think, for Uber. I would like to see it pull back a little bit more for an actual like swing trade. But a quick day trade tomorrow, if it's gapping down solely on this news, especially if the rest of the market's up, I would be looking for that retest, that good support, as long as we're opening in the zone.
Yeah.
Speaking of
What?
tomorrow and Jerome Powell, is anybody doing anything before 10 a.m. Eastern?
Before?
Yeah, because I think he comes on at 10.
I think it's 10 as well, yeah.
Yeah, it's 10.
Um,
Are you talking about is anybody talking or?
No, are any of you planning on doing a trade
Oh,
before
I don't
I'm
plan on
not.
trades. They just come to me, Jeff. They just
they
come to
come to
me.
you?
They just come to me, yeah. Yeah, I'll trade something because there's still, especially in the beginning of the day, if we see a good gap, and Uber could be one of them. Like we'll see what happens, but if we'll have to see how kind of the after hours goes. If there's any, like if we gap down tomorrow in the markets, there's a good chance for some kind of fade right out of the gate. But that first, as soon as that bell rings at 9:30, like that's your opportunity to probably take a trade quickly if there's a good gap. As we start getting closer to that 10 a.m. meeting, and so you only got about 30 minutes, so it's not something that I'm like, okay, this thing's going to trend all day type stock. But if there's a quick reaction, there's either some bulls or bears on either side getting destroyed and have to move their positions quickly. I think there's room for us to take a trade right out of the gate, but until Jack, like it would have to be an early, right after the bell type thing, I think.
Sounds
Think
good.
about swing trades. Can we look at Pan W?
Hey, Jeff, if you don't mind, let's see if anybody else has anything, because in this venue, we'd like to give everybody a chance to bring their trades into the
Yes, it's
venue,
Shane.
and
I've got
we
one
can look
when
at it towards the end, Jeff, if nobody else has
No
anything.
worries.
Thanks.
Jeff, you're
Shane,
hogging.
go
You're
ahead.
hogging, Jeff.
yeah, TXT, Textron.
TXT. Danny, you want to pull that up?
What is it? TXT?
Yes.
Yep.
So
Okay.
What are you thinking, Shane? So,
So-
hey, Danny, sorry, Shane. So the normal venue of this is we like to have people come in and bring up trades, and it's not about us doing the analysis. It's about you guys taking a look at a stock and you doing the analysis, and then everybody giving their opinion about, whether they agree or disagree with the analysis. So Shane, you're good at doing this. You know it. Take it over, man.
All right, let's see here.
Actually, Shane, do you want to share your chart?
Yeah, I'll share. Oh, wait, that's screen.
Shane's a pro at this, Danny.
Professional.
Okay, you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, so I was just looking at Textron here.
Wait, hold on. I
Here's-
don't see it. I don't see it yet.
You don't see his chart?
No, I just see
Really?
his letter S. Do you guys?
Does
you guys-
everybody else see his chart?
Oh wait,
Yep.
hold on. A different screen. No. It's my first
Yeah,
time.
I've got his chart.
Yep.
Yep. Don't worry about it. All good.
Okay, so this is on a daily right now. This is the buy signal from Momo. So I got the Momo indicator on. A couple days ago over here, we had the buy signal from the 10 EMA. And I was like, okay, if I wait until it actually pops up above the 200 here, I was thinking that might be a place to get in with the stop below the, I'm sorry, that's the 100, with the stop below the 200. And I can get out before I hit the tops of the recent highs over here. I checked the weekly and was like, yeah, that's kind of what it looks like. There's nothing up above moving averages to cut through. On the monthly, it's just getting back to where it was earlier this month. So that was how I'm looking at it initially. And right now, also the RSI is not oversold. Notice that one. Right now, my big concern is $3 really a good? Do I need to make my stop much bigger than $3? A lot of these candles aren't, $3 candles, but like this one here was. A couple of them over here are. So that's my question: is if I'm not sizing the types of trades correctly.
Yeah.
So that's what I had to share. So what do you guys think?
Shane, did you see that double top? And what do you think about that double top?
You're talking this right here over here?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I see it. And I'm like, get out before you get back to it. I'm thinking that would be a hard time busting through.
Yeah.
How,
If you
uh,
draw
Bip
a
on that?
resistance line right there, like at the neckline of that double top, you'll see it connects pretty nicely to the left of the chart. Draw a nice little resistance line there at the bottom of that neckline, that bearish candle, that red candle right there. The neckline down, right there. And look to the left of the chart. Yeah, so if you adjust it to that point there on the May 20th, I mean, it's a pretty decent little resistance area, right? That's right where that neckline is.
Oh, okay. So use the bottom as the resistance, not the top on
Correct.
these doubles. Okay.
Correct. Because on a double top, right, stocks like to come back and retest that
Just the
neckline
neckline. Okay.
and then roll over.
I was gonna say, how many if you take this trade, how many R's would that be if you hit your target?
That's just a 1.2.
Yeah, so if you're going to take this trade, I would be at least 2 R's. At
Okay.
least 2 R's. Because if it's going to get to your spot, kind of what Jonny was alluding to, like you're already passing the resistance. So if you think you can get up there, right? And I don't I wish I knew the future. I wish everybody here knew the future and just could tell me, and then I don't even have to know it. But if you're saying, hey, I think this stock could get up to that price where your target is, you're not really looking to take your target at that neckline. You're because what I would see on this chart is there is a little bit of a double bottom, so like maybe that holds. You're above that little red line. I'm guessing that's your 200. Um, but if I think the resistance comes in right where Jonny threw that line on your chart, and I think that's probably where we get that first reaction. They probably sell into that. You'll probably get an opportunity to try to get into this trade lower than your current price, as opposed to taking this breakout. But if you do think if you're like, hey, Dan, you're dumb, Jonny, you make no sense. This is where this target's gonna go. I would go for more because you're really looking at that point for that neckline break, and you're trying to get higher because the bulls are there.
Okay. So if you're playing a neckline break and you were to do something like
At minimum, I'd be looking for 2 R's. If I could get 2 R's on this trade,
okay.
and if I can't get 2 R's, I would not try to take the break.
And when you're looking for a break of a neckline, is you looking for just a close or just make it above?
The neckline is actually above. The neckline, if we're looking at it as a double bottom, the neckline is up top here. So I think I could annotate. Hold
It's
on.
good support at about 85-90.
So this is where I would draw my neckline, right? Also, where does the bottom of that neckline come up to? So that should be our resistance right into where Jonny was saying. This is where your resistance is going to be, right? Because the clear double top here, smaller if we are going bearish. If this thing is saying, hey, I'm going to hold this double bottom and we're actually bouncing off here, I could see your case. I see what you're going for. I think you get a better price. So I wouldn't take this trade on the first breakout. If that's the case, I would let it do something like this, get that pullback, get a better risk reward, some kind of entry around here, stop down here, and then make the attempt for that break.
Yeah.
But yeah, essentially you're looking for this neckline to break, which is somewhere above here.
Okay.
Yeah, Shane, I totally agree with Danny too. I like taking breakouts of, in this case, resistance, just like what Danny said. You let it break out, let it come back. People are going to sell off and try to get a better risk reward on it. The one thing I don't like about it is, I don't know how much you're into Elliott Wave, but that high of that double top really was the B of the ABC. So potentially you have a double top, which is forming the C, which is heading bearish. So you really got a pivot of that double top 1, 2, and then the big move down to like $83, I think that is. That's like a 3. And then you have the 4 coming back up, and potentially you may roll over to get the 5 of the 8, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the C. If you're tracking, are you tracking that?
Yeah, I don't try to look at Elliott waves yet. I've got enough stuff to be concerned about.
All right.
Well,
Sounds good.
Let's talk. Can we talk sentiment for a little bit? Is that
Of
cool?
course.
All right, everyone, grab your tissues. We're gonna get sentimental here for a second. If you were right, if you're like, hey, I like this company, and you're looking at this maybe double bottom somewhere back here or mini double bottom here, whatever the case, this thing broke. You're getting in somewhere right around here, right? This did stop everybody out, but you had a good, like everyone's thinking, how much money can I make on this push up higher, right? Somebody missed it. They're like, okay, obviously the double bottom, now it's confirmed, it works. They get their pullback. more people jumping in. They're jumping in here at that pullback, going, that was a great breakout. This thing's going higher. If I can get in anywhere lower, I want to get in. They're thinking not that we stop here somewhere. They're thinking, I'm looking for that breakout, right? What happens on this candle here? A lot of people starting to get trapped. You're not quite under, like, you're not trapping that many. You're still trapping people, not that many. This gap down here on this big red candle, anybody who got into this trade thinking, hey, I'm going to make so much money in this trade, here's my targets, I'm bullish, this thing's going higher, their sentiment changes where they're now thinking, how do I get out of this thing for less of a loss? Right? So that's why that double top, especially with the lower highs, comes in. That's a pretty devastating gap for them, where I think if we start getting back into this, and this kind of what causes that resistance, I think you'll get back into here. That's fine. We could do that. But all the people who are trapped up in here, this is their blessing that the market's giving them to get out for at least less of a loss than they had before when they were sitting down here. So at worst case, I don't know if this thing goes completely bearish and we start breaking down new pivots and all that stuff. But at worst case, I think we got to get those people out. The ones who are still in this thing, just hoping this thing comes back, they're looking to clear positions because they have to reassess their positions. So as this thing comes up, that's when I think those people at least start selling and probably looking for a little bit double bottom a little bit later would at least get you a better setup if this thing is not going to break down this pivot and actually go bullish. Does that make sense?
I mean, yes, it makes sense.
Yeah, there's some bag holders in those couple of candles that were just they're not as happy with this position as they once were, or when they got into it they thought they were. So they're not everybody uses stops, not everybody trades the same way. There is bag holders in this thing, and as we're making this move up higher, they're like, okay, it's starting to recover a little bit, and they're looking for their opportunity to get out. And probably right around that neckline that Jonny pointed out is right where I would suspect a lot of them were saying, cool, let me get out of this one. So I would actually give this one more time. I don't think I would jump into it yet. I would see if I get that one more pullback on it, and then if you're still bullish on it at that point, that's where I'd probably try to throw that trade.
Yeah. There's also that little gap there where the neckline is too, where your yellow line is, Shane. So that's going to provide a little bit of resistance in itself. Also, the kind of cool thing is, I don't know if you're into Fibonacci, Leonardo Fibonacci, but if you take a fib from that high point at, what is that, 94.56, down to 83.20, that little 1, 2, 3 down there, that neckline is actually the 618 pullback. So that's going to be additionally another good reason why people are probably going to sell off a little bit. So I'm 100% in with Danny's analysis, where I think we're probably going to end up hitting that resistance and then pulling back, and you may get a better risk reward if you hold on to it. Of course, tomorrow is going to have huge influence over everything, so kind of have to wait and see, I think. Anybody else have anything on that, on TXT? Any other comments about TXT?
I just think if that was the trade setup, your stop loss is probably lower than it needs to be.
Okay.
I got to think about that for a second.
Yeah. For me, Frank, I'm pretty comfortable where it is, but I wouldn't get in until it interacts with that neckline anyway. So that's why what I like to do is wait to things break out, in this case, break out of that resistance, and then come back and form some kind of S curve, and then see if I can get better risk reward.
Yeah, so this is what I was originally thinking with take a breakout once it breaks above, have the stop below this one. And then that's all the more it gave me before we I was
I know what you're talking about, Frank, because there's like a mini little pivot there, so it's almost like below that last kind of red candle, I guess.
Well, you have good support.
You need momentum, and you need that breakout on it, I think, for that stop.
Falls just below the 618.
What's that, Frank?
Below the 618.
I mean, you have good like long-term support resistance at about 86 something. or 88 40. And
Look
that
at your
falls.
weekly chart, Frank and
I'm on the
Danny.
daily actually.
What's that?
I'm on the daily. So if you look at the
Yeah.
daily, you got good support resistance around 88. And then if you look at your fib on that, you're like right around your 618.
Yeah. Yeah, I think stronger support is down here, more like the 84, 70-ish area. If you look at the weekly chart, helps define that
I
a
would
little bit.
agree on that. I would agree on that if we pull back one more time. In like in a longer term picture, if we already pulled back once, so if we came in and we did something like this, one more pullback could be a higher low, maybe another bounce off this red line, and now this setup that we're looking at happens over here after this one more pullback. I'm with you. I think we could go tighter stops on it because we're ultimately looking for that kind of breakout. We shouldn't need to stop where it's at if this thing is going to pick up momentum and start breaking out. But in a
Yeah,
longer term picture, I think we need some kind of pullback first, see how it interacts down here, and then I think go.
I see what you're saying on the weekly.
Yeah.
My 50 EMA is like right at 84.60.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of support there.
Yeah.
So
I was
when you
going,
guys say you're gonna wait for a pullback and then get in when it goes back, you're always setting stop losses above a candle to make sure that it starts going back up again, right? And that's the way you enter those. You don't set like a limit for it to come down and trigger you in.
You could can you do me a favor? Just scroll out further on this picture, like zoom like way out. So overall, is the trend bullish or bearish? I would say longer term, we're overall pretty bullish on this thing. Longer term, we have a big double top, higher lows. Um, I would have to be in, but since I don't even know what time frame that last big drop came in, but we've been doing nothing on this one for quite some time. So like here, anywhere in this zone, we haven't done it. Like I don't know what date this is. May, I guess.
Yeah.
Of 2023, I guess.
No, that's 2024.
2024.
Yeah, this is daily.
So like there's not a lot of momentum that's telling me like I definitely want to get into this thing bullish yet. But if that was the sentiment, so if we had a stock going kind of like this, and then we got this pullback, and then you're at the 50 or the 618, and you want to buy it lower, you can. That's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. This right here, this since this drop has happened, we've been, I mean, the chart's kind of a little messy. So I would rather wait for it to come down there. I'd rather set an alert on this one and then see if I could get a candle that could take a break or see if we get that bounce first because longer term we do have higher lower highs as well as we've been making essentially lower lows too.
Yeah,
Okay.
zoomed out to here, I mean, now that it's at this, you know, this depth, I almost see this bearish more than bullish.
Yeah.
The this double bottom failed right here. It should have broken out here. It didn't, it pulled back. This double bottom already came pretty close to where it would be for target on that particular double bottom. You've got these lower lows. I'm almost thinking Johnny's original thought, it's going to hit this double top neckline and it's going to roll over. That's
Yeah.
what I would
Look
be
at the
looking
monthly,
at for a
guys.
play.
Look at the monthly, give you a different little taste. It's having trouble up there.
So can anybody comment on if this is a swing trade versus an investment, yada yada? Are you giving more weight to the daily, the weekly, the monthly based on how long you're thinking you want to play this?
I personally don't go out any more than the weekly if I'm planning a swing, just because if I'm getting into monthly and I'm relying on candles on a monthly, that's a long swing for me. I don't have the patience to be in a swing trade for, a month or 2 or 3. So I don't have the patience to wait for those candles. I don't want to tie up my capital that long. Um, you're definitely going to get a better perspective, and the success rate's probably going to be higher if you base off of a monthly chart. But, if you're like me and you don't have the capital to tie up on a swing trade for 4 or 5 months, then it doesn't really do me any good to look that far out. So if I don't have something that I can bank on, or sort of bank on, I guess, on a daily or a weekly, it's not worth me tying up the capital. So I don't tend to go that far out. If
So you
anything, I'll
don't
go
even look
back
at
into the
it, or
hourly.
if it supports your proposition, you're okay with it. And if it doesn't, you ignore it if the weekly is supporting what you're thinking is going to happen.
Yeah, if I've got to go out to a monthly in order to find that, those pros and cons, or those pros that are going to support my thesis, I don't rely on that because it takes too long. If I can't find it on the weekly, I'd rather go out and find something better. And I don't even use the weekly that much. I'll use the weekly MAs as potential support, or even a weekly support, but a weekly candle pattern, I'm never going to rely on that for a swing trade. It's just it takes too long for it to come to fruition for me.
Yeah, it just gives you fidelity. It gives you an opportunity to look at the picture differently when you're using, for me anyway, that's why I use it, just to get a different view of the picture, right?
Yeah.
Because that looks quite different on the daily than it does on the weekly. I personally, I even look at 3 months and 6 months and see what it's doing longer term for me anyway. But
But yeah, if you're on a monthly chart, not to jump in, but if you're on a monthly chart and you're starting to see like, okay, there's big resistance here, big resistance here, that candle is breaking out above all of these. You might not be setting, like, you might not need to throw your stop all the way down here. I mean, you could if you get some kind of pullback or something like that. But what that would tell me is, okay, the monthly chart's breaking out. Do I think I have better trades bullish or bearish during that time frame? Right. If I'm going with the trends, I know the monthly candle's breaking out. I'm looking maybe now more on like the monthly is telling me we're breaking there. So all of these candles that came in, even, I mean, there was one red candle, but all of those all those green candles there, I'd have a much better success rate trading that bullish than I would bearish. Right. And that's pretty much off of this candle with that volume that came in. I'm trying to buy the dips. I'm trying to figure out where I could get into it, as opposed to, like, I'm going to just trade this specifically on the monthly. Does that make sense?
Frank, does
Yeah,
that answer the question?
I'm just one, I didn't know if it was just sort of a hard and fast, like, oh, of course it's a day trade. I'm looking at the 3 minute, the 5 minute, 15. It's a swing trade. I'm looking at the daily and the weekly. It's a longer term. I'm looking at the weekly and the monthly.
Yeah.
For me,
For long-term investment, I'm sorry, go ahead.
oh, go ahead, finish yours, and then I'll come in with something a little different.
Okay. Yeah, so I was just gonna say, for long-term investment, I'm not really solely going off of candles. I'm going off of more of like valuations of companies and where I think they're it's a whole different process. So I'm not really, because once I buy something for the long term, I'm in there for the long term. Like, I'm there for at least 10 years. I'm not selling. So the candles, anything that happens from the time I get in, it becomes all dollar cost averaging, but I think I'm getting in at a fairly good price, fair value, something like that. So it's a little different, but the longer you go out on time frames, like Lucian said, the longer you go out on time frames, the more confirmation there is of, like, if you're getting a big breakout or you're getting a good pullback spot where there's some interest on maybe a monthly chart, that would definitely set some alerts to start looking at the weeklies, the dailies, and there should be some opportunities for you to get in. It's just a matter of how and where you set your trades up.
Okay, I'm newer to this, but at least Johnny, I think Dan too. Um, Sometimes you use moving averages as your support and resistance in um, bullish and bearish trends. And in this one, on the daily and weekly, the 50 SMA when you're above the 50 SMA and tracking upwards, as soon as you head back toward the 50, you break down. And so if you look at the other highs, I'm looking at the weekly right now, at the highs of the prior two peaks, that looks an awful lot like what you've got here. So you have to watch that it might break down through the 50 SMA and then you've broken the trend. But what do I know? Because I'm just sort of new to this. So if you were to go and look on, let's say the weekly, and put a 50 SMA on and look at all the way back to, say, 2018, there have been 3 peaks. Or I could share my screen too to show you what I'm looking at. But anyways.
Yeah.
Is this your 50 here, Shane?
That
This right here?
is
50 SMA, not EMA.
yeah,
SMA.
it's it's an EMA. It's
Yeah.
one of the
Okay,
EMAs.
okay.
But yeah, I could show you what I'm seeing on my chart, but if you want.
Yeah, why don't you just show?
Okay. Oh, here's the fun part. Can Cheryl actually share?
But before he leaves, you were
oh.
talking about momentum in the trades and stuff. This is a real clear example of where that big green candle broke out and the momentum that you can see that followed through. We don't have any of that over here as far as an indication of getting into a trade.
Correct.
This right here, you mean?
Long about, yeah, that where
Yeah.
you see that momentum, you can clearly see based on that chart that, you know, you've got momentum and there's some similar things, but still higher or lower highs. And you don't have anything like that momentum breaking out, you know?
Yeah, I gotta say the main thing that drew me to this was, okay, hey, the Momo indicator's a momentum indicator, right? Also the 10 EMA. And then I was like, well, it looks like I don't have anything, no moving averages to get through if it breaks out above, and then that's where I were to take it. So that's why I was looking at it.
Yeah. You know what? Also, Shane, is that you have the Momo on the daily. I would recommend you, if you're going to use it for a swing like this, that you look at the 78-minute, because that's how it was designed and coded for the 78-minute chart, because you're already late to the game. Right?
Yeah, a little bit. I'm aware on that one. It did signal. No, it didn't. It just signaled.
Yeah,
Back
way
there,
back here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing that's interesting is if you look at, what is that, the daily, Jeremy uses, you know, the adjusted for dividends charts sometimes. If you look at that, that may give you a different view. I don't think it changes. Does it change it on the weekly? I think I was just looking at, no, I guess it doesn't. On the monthly, daily. Yeah, this case, it doesn't change the 100. But sometimes I do that too, is I look at the charts using the adjusted for dividends chart, and it sometimes gives
Do they
you a
even
different
pay a dividend?
perspective. This one does, yeah. TXT.
Oh, okay.
2 cents.
Not much, yeah.
Yeah, that's not going to adjust
That's why
much
there's
with
no
2 cent
change.
dividend.
Yeah. Yes, obviously it depends on how much dividends they pay, but
You know, another thing you can look, I mean, look at the volume on this. The volume's only 500K.
good catch.
So, you know, and your average is still under a mil.
Yeah.
That's not great volume for swing trades.
I use a million, minimum million, but yeah.
Okay. I didn't even look at that.
Yeah. Good catch.
Could
All
I
right.
still share my screen to show you what I see and see what you think of what I'm looking at?
Go ahead. Danny, you might have to stop
Well, it's not
sharing.
on mine, but yeah, Shane, if you
Shane.
want to stop
She
sharing.
should be okay to share.
You can probably
Good
jump in and share.
question. I think,
Shane, you'll have to cancel yours though in order to be able to
Yeah,
see.
I stopped.
oh, okay. What am I? Oh, here, this, let's share that. Share. Okay, I don't know. Are you, yeah, you're seeing this thing over here. What I'm looking is over on the left side on the daily portion. If you look back, you'll see that the 50 SMA sort of forms a really nice support. And when you cross through it, you break down. That was in 2017, 18, 19. And then in 2020, you cross back above the dark blue, which is the 50. And now it tracks you all the way up. And then you break down, cross through it. Now we've broken up over it, and now we're coming back to the 50. So I would, being a real wimp, wouldn't know what to do right here just because of what I've seen in the past. I don't know. Is that looking back too far?
Is it under the 50 right now?
Right. It's just above it. It's just
Oh,
above
okay.
the 50. Here, let me.
Yeah, we can't see. It's too small on our charts.
Okay, let's. Oh, I know what I can do there.
You got to get a bigger
Okay.
screen, Johnny.
Yeah.
32 inches isn't big enough.
Gotta get
Well,
one
I
of those
use
curved-
too much
curved
for
screens.
the daily on this. Okay, so is this better that you can sort of see it now? The 50 is the dark blue, and you tracked up it. And as soon as you cross the 50, you track down below it. That's your resistance.
Yeah.
You
So
cross
is this
it. Now
is
it's
this
your
the
support.
50, the 100, and the 200? Is that the
Yeah,
lines? you're looking at?
50
Okay.
is the dark blue, 100 is the lighter blue, and 200 is the red.
Okay.
And so it sort of tracks the 50 as a support and resistance line over the past 5 years or so. So one of you guys told me to just take that into account. And right now we're in a similar position to the peaks in 2018, 2021, and we're getting back towards the 50. So if it breaks away from the 50, great, but if you got to watch for it crossing back if you believe that's a thing. But what do I know? So that's just, somebody told me to look out for that, so I did.
Well, if you were gonna follow this, then if I were gonna follow this, and I know we mentioned earlier that maybe you wait for a pullback. I wouldn't wait for the pullback in this case if I was gonna try to put some, some credence on what these are doing. This would encourage me to take the breakout, because if it does pull back based on what you're looking at, you're expecting it to come down. So
Right.
if I get in here with a stop down here, I'm expecting it to break out because
Mhm.
it's not coming down through the 50. So this would tell me to actually take the breakout. But then if you take the breakout, you're right back to Johnny's situation where you've got that double top and the 618 retracement, and you might make it to, here, and then it's going to roll back down on you. So all that put together tells me that this is basically not the place I would take this trade. For all of those reasons combined, it's, there's too many cons once you look at all of this.
Yeah, I would consider this as no, could you share that screen again? I think
Oh, hold on. Sorry. Let me do it. Sorry. I thought you were done with me.
no,
Hold
never,
on.
never.
We're done
Okay.
with you, Cheryl.
Yeah,
We've sent out
thanks,
pieces about this
Lucian.
chart.
I'll share that. Okay. I'll make it bigger again for you guys. Okay.
All right. So a few things to consider. I mean, I know what you're looking at. It makes sense. Number one, we have not broken down yet. So what Lucian's talking about is risk reward. So if you're like, I think this thing holds, then like Lucian said, you could take a shot at the breakout. You are massively higher, right? So are you buying it on a dip? Probably not. You're just saying, I think this thing goes higher. That's it. But also if you get back to some of the other points on this chart, so like over here, you actually dip down past that. Oh no, hold on. This is the 50. Over here, you dip down. You probably would have got stopped out if you were going short just because it was there, until it actually got some closing, came back, retested, and then broke. Over here would have been good. Would you have hit targets? Not sure. Then you got it kind of broke down again past that 50 again. So there's a few times where it kind of interacts back and forth. Obviously, looking at hindsight, going, okay, well, we had a cross, and yeah, we had some big selling afterwards. Like that's an easy picture to paint, but even that short wasn't really short, right? It was just trying to. That was more of find the buy the dip. So I wouldn't make it like a hard fast rule on if you're going on a weekly at least for the I don't know. Sorry, I don't know how to get this thing off the chart. The lines I drew. I wouldn't make it like a hard fast rule because obviously there could still be bounce spots but it'd be an indicator. Like obviously if you're above the 50, you're at least in a shorter term than the 100, you're more bullish. But that's
Yeah.
kind of your line of stance. So I think what Lucian was talking about is
Yeah.
risk to reward. Like, okay, if you're like, hey, I think it should bounce here, you can make that case, but you're still buying it kind of high.
Yeah.
Okay. I just, one of you said, find out which moving average it sort of tracks. And it looked like this stock has done more tracking on the various timeframes and all to the 50, not to the 20 or the 100. Anyways, but hey,
Gotcha.
I'm a wimp. What can I say?
All right, sounds good.
That's all good.
I think we beat this one to death. Let's move on to see if anybody else has anything. Anybody have any other stocks they want to look at? Cindy K, I know you always have stocks that you're looking at.
I have to jump off, Johnny, but
Okay.
before I do, just so you guys know, we do have myself and Johnny. We did 2 of them now, so we'll do a third one. But we do have the new mentorship group starting September 9th, if I'm right on that date, right, Johnny?
Yep.
So
Yep.
if anybody wants to go through that, that's where I'll teach classes at 8 p.m. on Mondays and Wednesdays, and then Johnny does the following day. So this way, it's kind of taking actual like lessons and then implementing them live kind of into the markets and looking for those type of setups to just really understand it. But you'll get pretty much the analysis from like myself and Johnny for a full was it 8 sessions total, I think.
Yep.
But it's a good way, and the reviews we had, the even the progress that I know I saw, I don't want to speak for Johnny, but I'm sure he saw as well. But like the traders, they picked up on a lot and just started to understand the market. As I tell people, there's always like setups and there's always different trading strategies, but understanding the market really helps to when to implement those strategies, kind of like what we've been going over even with TXT. Just kind of understanding like the different moving averages, when to use it, when to apply it. So that is coming out. You could go online now, register for it. It's up and live now, but just wanted to mention that before I jumped off.
Yeah,
If you had
man.
anything else.
See you,
I
Dan.
appreciate you coming in and sharing with us. It's always awesome to hear your analysis. You're such a pro. And yeah, man, I'm looking forward to doing that new Profit Masters course with you starting in September. So looking forward to that.
Awesome.
But hope you'll come back in and visit us again sometime, maybe whenever you get a chance, maybe in September, October. And we'd love to have you.
Sounds good, man. I think we're on my link right now, so I'm just gonna go mute and I'll just stop the video, but
Okay.
I'll leave it up for you guys.
Okay.
Later, DJ.
Thank
guys.
you, Danny.
You got it.
All right. What a pro. Cindy K, do you have anything you want to look at?
Nothing
I always
really
love
set up.
Cindy.
I'm watching a Carvana for a short swing, but I'm not in it yet. Just
Want
watching
to
it.
share your screen and look at it?
I don't care.
We love
just-
to hear. I
it's
can
just-
use my screen if you want. I
Yeah,
mean,
go ahead because yeah, go ahead. Just pull it up on yours. It's fine.
What's the CNVA?
CMDA.
Why CNVA? Why isn't it working? CNVA. Am I doing something wrong?
CVNA.
CVNA. I have dyslexia, sorry. Thank you, Lucy. Let me share my screen. Everybody see that?
Yes.
Go ahead, girl.
Yeah, it looks like it's been running for a long time. It's just been going nothing but up. That doesn't mean it's going to go down, but I'm watching it here because I'm thinking it's starting to look short, like it wants to go short. And no
Yeah.
trade set up, just that's my thoughts.
All right. So would you play it short if you get some kind of opportunity, like whatever pattern or 10 EMA? You're gonna take it short?
Yeah, I think it's due for a pullback. I mean, it's done nothing but really go up for quite some time.
Yeah, it's a pretty nice resistance too, yeah.
Yeah.
The RSI would agree with you too. Getting some divergence there at the end.
And I like today's candle with it's not a pin bar, but with that long upper wick. Or longer
Yep.
upper wick.
Little potential shooting star action.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are some of the things that would convince you to go short up here?
I'd probably be looking at more like the 10 to do something based on like 10 EMA.
Mm-hmm. What wave do you think we're in? Do you think we're in 5?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And I even think the last little bit's almost like an extension of 5, like a diagonal
Uh-huh.
that it continued.
Zoom back out on that, Johnny. Yeah, that'll work.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, you got a nice cup there. So, I mean, you short into that handle. That could actually be a nice play. You've got this cup here. You got to expect the handle to come in here, short
Yep.
back down to this range here before it comes up, if it's going to form that.
Yeah.
Nice.
Catch.
And that's kind of about what I was looking at when I was just using fibs on it and stuff a little bit. Guessing where I thought it might go to or pull back to. And
There's
that's
a pretty
about the
big
same
gap
place that
right
I was
here.
coming up with.
This and this, pretty big gaps that haven't been filled.
Yeah. Which is a real deep pullback.
Yeah.
So Johnny, do you find that it doesn't matter what the story is with the company? Basic trading off candlesticks seems to work? Because Carvana, remember, they were losing hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars on every car they were selling, and that's how they ended up clear down like $3-4.
Mm,
And now they're finally turning a profit again, so that's why they've shot up so much.
yeah. And that's a great question. I mean, I do look at some of the fundamentals and do consider like what the company is doing. I always look at, revenue, and we discussed it earlier. I mean, revenue is nice to look at, but it's also the forecast, which is the big thing, right? So let's just see if their revenue is 3.4. So the revenue looks like it's on the grow, and obviously, but that's a great question, man. I mean, it's something that I consider, but me personally, I'm a look at the chart and play the chart, not what like expectation or anticipation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's what I prioritize. I
Yeah,
don't know. Anybody else have any comment on that? Go ahead,
yeah.
Shane.
My concern there though is if you look back, 2023 was kind of the anomaly, so you're trying to base it off of what it was and how it's changing
Yeah. I
from
mean, what
there.
changed
Yeah.
here? Do you remember what changed here?
Oh, well, just that they were losing so much money and everyone thought they were going to go bankrupt.
2.6, 2.9, 2.7. Yeah, they were losing money.
Well, and I guess that
reporting.
they took off and went like that in 2020 because of COVID, huh?
Right. They had a huge COVID run, and then when the price of cars came back down, they were buying their cars for too much. So it took them a while to turn that inventory over where they were getting better fundamentals.
Yeah.
And I don't follow them super closely. That's just kind of the highlights.
I think, for me, Shane, like I like how Lucen looks at things, kind of a swing, not months plural and into a year or half year. I think it means less if you're going to get in and out on a quick swing, but it does have something to do with, for me anyway, how I look at a company. I mean, we're right now for any kind of pullback when I use fibs, right? When a company does something like this, which is pretty dang strong, I usually consider like a good 5-0 pullback would be something that I would definitely focus in on and consider. But I do that in conjunction with support and resistance. I mean, the true support and resistance is right up here at the 618, so that's something also that I look at is how strong a move is it? And if it's real strong, then I'll look at the 382 and the 50. But if it's just a pretty good, strong bullish trend, then I think this has a lot of good potential for people to sell off like up in here where this resistance is. I'm Danny, if you haven't been able to tell, Danny is leans, not leans, but Danny, he definitely uses fundamental analysis on especially a lot of his longer term stuff. For me, I'm not that much of a fundamentalist. I'm just a simple look at a chart and play the chart. And that's what's been successful for me. But yeah, I think that's a great question, Shane. Thank you for asking that.
Well, if you go to the hourly chart too, it looks like it could be setting up to do a head and shoulders, possibly.
Where are you looking at?
At the
I'm
very
seeing this
top there, I
double
mean,
top.
yeah, right there. Well, I don't consider those double tops if I've got a higher high. I consider double tops, if I've got a lower high on the second.
Right,
I kind of start looking for, oh, well, that could end up turning into a head and shoulders possibly on a
right.
pullback, because that could be the two of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down.
You talking about like that?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. For me, I would still consider, for me anyway, I would still consider this like a especially after a move like this, right? I would consider this a double top, even though we had a little bit of a higher high. But you really are bumping in. I base that off of like where this resistance would be, and I'd have to go back and see where this resistance is that I put in there. Yeah. So, I mean, based on what is that, a few cents, or you were looking at the hourly? Have to get my magnifying glass out here. So you're talking about the difference between 156.20. Yeah, about 60 cents to $1. Come see, come saw.
yeah,
Cindy, would you consider this a double top if it breaks and closes below this
yeah.
point here?
I typically look, if I'm looking for something as far as getting in trades, I normally look for the second hip of the double top to be a lower high,
A little bit lower, yeah.
high a little
Yeah.
bit. I think they tend to work better, at least from the way my eye sees them. That's what I catch.
Yeah. Anybody have any thoughts on this for Cindy? I mean, I like her look here. I would guess,
You are starting to lose momentum here too.
Yep.
Your MAs, I'm not sure what you have on here, but these MAs are starting to consolidate.
Yep.
So that's a good sign to the downside.
Yep. So is this.
And even if the fundamentals are great, which they are, I mean, they've been moving up in valuation. But even if a stock's going up, I mean, it goes up an S curve. So, it may not plummet, but there's certainly a, potential bear trade to be had just simply on the S curve, and you catch this down wave. So if you wait for one more S curve up and then play this, or something along those lines, or if this breaks, you play it down further. I know you use fibs and waves and all of that, so I think that would actually play more into it than the fundamentals, because fundamentals are always meant to be long term. And you can obviously, for investment, so you can always trade around those regardless.
Yep. I mean, this thing is definitely losing strength all the way back here till June. You can see the RSI, even back here. We haven't made higher highs on the RSI back in May. So it's definitely losing its steam. And I like Cindy's thought process of, hey, let's watch this and see if we get some kind of signal to go bearish on it.
And and even if everybody is bullish in here, if you got in here, you're taking profits here. If you got in here, you're taking them here. If you got in here, so
Right.
At some point somebody's going to take profits, and you can capitalize on that to the downside and, play that downside just based on profit taking alone.
Yeah.
If it's a quick enough swing trade, days, weeks, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, we saw, a bunch of volume come in here to this resistance at 147. Then we actually broke out, but decreasing volume, people are losing interest. It's losing strength. So I think it's a good look to go.
And you have that bearish candle you just pointed out. If you had people short here, they would have taken profits here. You've got your buy to close to take profits. Once you get back up here, people are getting in here. Now it's time to take profits again for anybody that got in bullish down in here when everybody closed out of their shorts. It's time for profit taking at some point here. It could be here, it could be here, but you know, this is definitely a time to start looking for a potential bearish signal.
Yep.
For people taking profits and ride that profit down.
I think we got the start right there, like Cindy said.
Yeah, that pin bar or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, kind of almost like a shooting star or
Yeah.
upside down hammer. All right, sounds good. We'll keep an eye on it. Thanks,
There's
Cindy.
great support at 135 on like almost every time frame.
135.
Yeah,
In here?
I have 135.76 on the fib, but if
Yeah.
you look at like the 1 hour, the 2 hour, the 4 hour, there's just good support there. If you were
Yep.
looking for a target on the downside.
Yep. Kind of like right here where this nice bullish candle came in. Yep. Yeah, I think it's going to be a quick, short-lived. It seems like it anyway. But again, a lot of big news coming out, so we'll see what
Cindy, do
happens.
you use,
These are awfully big, though. This makes me curious. You know, normally, let's go back and look at Carvana because I don't think Carvana usually gaps that much and goes unfilled. I mean, can anybody find any gaps that are unfilled? I mean, you're probably not going to find much with this kind of pullback, but this is a pretty big gap right here. Don't you think?
is that a gap or is that a full, there is a gap in there? I can't tell because I can't see through I don't know if that's VWAP or a moving average or something, but
That's a gap.
That's a gap.
oh, over here. I'm sorry. I thought you were looking over here.
Well, I was just looking to see if I could find any gaps that have gone unfilled. That's one thing that I do is, you know, like silver, right? It gaps almost like every day. I just like to look at, just like our Pepsi, Lucen. Remember that?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but this is a pretty big gap that hasn't been filled. And it's pretty far away, man. Make you wonder what kind of move is that? That's like a 60% move down there. That's
Well,
pretty
another thing to
crazy.
keep in mind on used cars too, if you are going to pay attention to the fundamentals, if they start dropping interest rates, people are going to start buying new cars again. So the used car market may not be as hot as it has been.
Yep. Good point. All right. Anybody else? Nobody else?
I have a different kind of question that might fit more in a mentorship or one of the other venues, but
Ask away, girl.
most of the people here who've been talking are experienced. I mean, Cindy, all you guys. I'm sort of starting out, and when I joined RLT, it was in the 90-day class when I was originally going to be able to trade stocks in the prop account.
Yeah.
So I wasn't set up in terms of my accounts to be able to support day trading and swing trading. So it's taken me a while, but I'm getting there. For me, margin is a big, big deal for setting up mostly day trades, but also swing trades. Do you ever get into taking margin into account when you're setting your stops and your and everything else so that you don't go in and blow something?
That's a great question. I personally have never had to worry about margin, just because of my accounts. Does anybody else consider that? I mean, I've never looked at it when I've traded at all, so
What are
I'm not a
you-
great person to
What
ask that
platform are
question.
you using, Cheryl?
Pardon?
What platform are you using?
I started out with Fidelity Active Trader, but it's entirely not like it was 10 years ago or 15 when I started. I can use it, so I'm just starting to teach myself Thinkorswim.
Okay,
And
so
I'm setting up a Schwab account. So I've got to figure out how much I need to put in there, how I'm going to set up the margin. I'm approved for options and margin in Schwab, but I have to fund it now.
okay, well, your day trading margin should be 4-1 with Schwab.
Okay.
And I believe your swing trading margin is 2-1, if I'm not mistaken. So if are you using the same account for day and swing?
For now,
Okay.
probably.
So you will have to, well, you don't necessarily have to keep track, but just know that when you take a swing trade, that 2-1 margin is going to be, that margin is going to be tied up at 2-1, which is going to drastically reduce what you have available for swing on a 4-1 margin.
Wait a
But
minute. You mean day trading on the 4-1 margin?
day trading on a
Day
4-1.
trading versus.
And how do
So-
they, maybe, Lucian, could I set up something with you in
Sure.
the next couple of weeks and you explain how they know the difference?
Yeah, do you still have my
I do.
Zoom link?
I still have access to it. I would set it up because, yeah, I've got to teach myself a whole new platform and figure out how to fund it and then how to take margin into account when I'm setting up, because in the day trading room in the mornings, when Dan sets up his trades, his entries and stops, the last a week or so or a couple weeks, I've been noticing if I use an R value and an R unit of a certain amount, he's very consistent in his cost of entry. He's very good at that. And he must just do it because he's been doing it so long, he knows how to do it. And so there's a little bit of, for me, where the margin is going to be really critical, developing that sense too. And I don't know it. Most of you don't have to worry about that, so maybe you don't discuss it as much. And when I was going to be trading in a prop account, it didn't matter, because you got 100K plus all that margin, it never came in. But now that I'm doing stocks in my own money, with my own money in my own accounts, I have to figure out how I'm going to take. I'm a detail person. Anyways, that's going to be my problem. And I notice, as Jonny said, most of you guys that you've gotten your limits and you figured it out, but still margin doesn't come into the, into the equation right now.
Here comes the pro.
Yeah.
Oh, he came back. Good.
Yeah, no, I had to grab something to eat, but I was listening on YouTube, so I'm still caught up. Still caught up. I think you're asking in terms of risk. Is that correct?
Well, what I did is I set up your trades for the last week or so, just because I'm getting ready to start being serious, not just paper trade and playing around. And I noticed that with an R of 100, you almost consistently have around a $5,000 cost of entry into your day trades. Now, I don't know what your R unit is, but you're very consistent in how much you purchase, how much you have to spend to buy in. And how do you get that consistency so well? Because you're looking at stocks like Nvidia at 100, and you're looking at pins at 30, and you're looking at SMECI at 500, and yet you're very good at hitting it right at the same cost of entry.
Yeah,
And
my risk unit is the same. I'll tell you, there's a secret. There's a secret.
Okay.
I don't know if I could give this one out, but I will. No one else is listening except us two, right? I use this program called Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah, that's what I've got.
I have the formulas already set. So all I'm doing on my end here, I'll share this actually. Hold on.
Okay. So you're doing that real time behind the scenes as you're putting these in the day.
Correct.
Okay.
I actually had one that I could share with you. Hold on one second. But yeah, it's all set up where it's our chat for, there we go. This one. I'll share this in the
These
chat.
are great questions because I've had a lot of the same, being new and trying to actually set myself up to do this full time as my sole source of income. I've had more questions than answers on how many accounts do I need and how much money should I put in each account, and all those sort of basic things. So this is, a question I appreciate.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Oh, okay. So I see what you do.
So you could change. So this one is just set up for example. So there's a bunch of people who've gone through the mentorship groups and things like that that have this link.
Yeah.
So don't just take this link and just edit numbers, because somebody else could go in and just change it. So just copy this entire thing, open a
Copy
new
it
Excel
first.
spreadsheet
Yeah.
that's just yours,
Okay.
and
Oh,
go from there.
could I share something to show you what I did
Oh yeah,
to
yeah,
copy?
yeah, go for it.
Let's see here. This is it. Share. Yeah, so I have mine. It's not in Google Docs,
No,
but
yours
you
looks
can
nicer
see
than mine already. Yep.
I have an R value, the unit, and I just chose 100 because I needed it to be under 10,000 to buy in. And so the yellow things are what I put in, and then it calculates the delta for whatever the cost of the stock is. And then I have short and long and everything, and what the proceeds are, and this is what you posted in the day room.
Yep.
and so but the big key to me was the big red numbers, was you giving an R of 100. It did, at this point, when you get in, the R value of 1.2 doesn't come into play. But I noticed you are almost, well, okay, Google is an exception, but you're very good at keeping it under $10,000. And in fact, for a while there, you were really almost dead on at 5,000 with $100 risk. And you were just so consistent. I figured you must have a secret, or you've just been doing it so long, you get a feel for it as to how to set your price delta.
Once you have your R set,
Yeah.
and keep in mind, and I think Scott in YouTube land pointed out too, your R should be based off of your actual money in the account, your hard cash in the account.
Yes.
Otherwise, when it comes to margin, when you're taking your trade,
yeah,
you're not worried about your actual margin, because that's
right.
You're at the time you use margin. Yes, there is a cost to it. It's right now anywhere from like 13 to 17%. Brokers are charging, but that's APR, so it narrows down. It's very, very small compared to what you're actually making on the game. So the margin is just allowing you to buy your positions,
right?
But otherwise, for the most part, and I don't even look at so I don't even look at those numbers of how much the position cost me to get
you
into
guys
it,
don't
to be
have
honest.
to.
I have it on my chart, but
yeah,
I don't really. I'm not too concerned. I just want to know where I get in, where I think I'm wrong on the trade, and then how many shares do I need to fill that equation, if that makes sense.
Oh, it does. If I weren't worried about going over my margin when I'm starting to fund the account as I'm moving the money in. So for me, that cost at entry, it comes into play where it probably doesn't with most of you guys. But
so
anyways,
Cheryl, are you just doing swing trades, or are you doing swing and day trading?
Right now, I'm limiting myself to. I'm not putting in stops. I'm doing swing to long-term trades, and when it reaches my target, I get out. And if it, I pick stocks that have the fundamentals, so that if they go down, I don't mind holding them until they recover. So I'm not doing exactly what you have, but in paper trading, where I'm using larger numbers and larger number of shares, I am doing the day trades. I shouldn't be admitting what I'm doing, but that's okay. But anyway, but I did the pyramid in on Disney because I needed the shares in so I could gift them to somebody. But I got in at 84, so I'm all happy. But I'm in there without having to stop because that's going to be long term. So I guess I'm mostly doing long term right now with paper trading for day trading and swing trading.
I don't have any stops on my long term.
Right.
My stop is the ability to dollar cost average over time.
Right.
So if I look at something, I'm like, okay, it's a good value here. I think it's gonna be higher in 10 years. I'm fine with no stops there. I do have the ability to obviously dollar cost average until I get to certain position sizes. Then I just let it do its thing. Just don't let a day or swing trade turn it into a long-term investment, right? So
Right.
Anytime you're taking like, this is where I want to get in, this is where I get out on every single one of those trades. Make sure you have, at least for me, I don't want to give you advice, but I think it's
Sure.
sound advice. Make sure you have stops on those because you're looking at the chart, you're looking at the pattern, you're not doing fundamentals, you're not doing valuations,
Right.
And those are the trades where I think probably everyone's guilty of it at some point of like, no, I'm going to be right, and then it just all of a sudden that's the one stock blowing up your account, right?
I guess so far what I've been doing is getting into the stocks that seemed like they were good companies. And so I got into Apple at one of the dips, and I got into Disney at one of the dips, although I also came in higher. And those are just long-term trades. So far, I guess I'm doing more long-term trades than swing or day trading. And swing and day trading has been paper trading because then I can set the stops and not worry so much about the margin, although obviously I've got the spreadsheet, so I've been looking at it. But now that I'm going to be funding the Schwab account and I'm going to have to be doing it, I'm going to be doing serious day trading. I have to take that into account, I guess.
If you've got like, well, you have to have at least 25,000 in there bottom line anyway. Otherwise you can't day trade. You'll be in the PDT rule and you can't day
Right.
trade.
So
you
I'd
at least
have to start.
25K.
I have to start swing trading then for now, until I can. I have an account with 25 in it, but more than 25, 35. But gonna have to move it over to Schwab because I just can't do what I want in Fidelity. And
Well, I'm
so
day trading. My day trade / swing trade account
Mhm.
only has about, I don't know, I could look specifically, but it's somewhere around 35 to 40K in it.
right. But
And
unfortunately, mine's with the wrong broker right now.
well, yeah, but once you move it over,
Yeah.
with Schwab, that's going to get you somewhere between 138 and 145,000 with margin.
Okay.
I rarely ever have to worry about one of my day trades capping out my margin. And even if
Okay.
it does, Schwab's not going to let you can't go over your margin. Schwab's not going to let you. So if you try to take, like if I try to play the SPY with shares,
Mhm.
I can't, with my risk unit, I can't actually take most SPY day trades even with my margin. It eats up everything. So every time I try to put a trade in, Schwab just says, you don't have the funds for this, and it won't let you take the trade. So you can't end up upside down, at least with Schwab.
Okay.
So you don't have to worry about that. It won't let you take the trade if you're over your margin. Whatever that margin is, if you're in a swing trade and you've already taken some of that margin, and then you try to do a day trade and it takes you over your margin, they won't let you place the trade. So you don't have to worry about that.
Okay.
And those numbers seem similar to what Fidelity has.
Sure. Oh, who's that?
Is this Shane?
Shane.
Yeah, I'm using
Oh.
Fidelity, even though I'm also looking to jump ship. I don't like the fact Fidelity doesn't have extended hours, good
And
till
they don't-
cancel orders.
Right. Yeah, that was one of my problems. I missed out on something. Oh, I missed out on Tesla, I think. Was it Tesla? It went down to 140 after hours, and I didn't get it filled because it exactly what you said. You can't do the extended hours. Also, there's really no paper trading.
And there's no bracketed short sells.
Right. Right. So I'm in the wrong. So mostly what I've been doing is just taking my long-term accounts and being a little more cognizant of things and getting in at the dip for long-term trades. And if I get to a point where I think I've reached a point where I don't expect it to go up and it's not one that I want to hold forever, or long-term, I sell it. But so I'm not entering them as swing trades. I'm entering them as long-term trades.
Okay. Someone said you can't bracket short on Fidelity, because I do that all the time.
I've actually talked to their technical team and asked them to show me how to do it, and they didn't know how to do it. That's why I just opened a Schwab account. I'm
Okay.
just moving all my money over.
All right. Well, like I say, I'm planning on moving too, but it's definitely something you can do from their trade armor. But you can't set a good till cancel short.
That's yes. Yes. Yes.
Hey, Danny, sorry to interrupt. I gotta head out. been here
Oh.
about 2 hours, so I got an appointment I got to run to. I don't know if you're gonna stay here
Oh,
or
It's
not.
been a long time.
Yeah,
Danny,
thank
are you
you.
gonna stay here?
Yeah, we'll
'Cause
keep it
I
a few
got a
more
boogie.
minutes. Yeah, a few more minutes.
Okay.
and
All
answer
right,
any
guys,
questions I
thanks for
can.
joining us. I'll see you
Thank you.
guys next Thursday. We'll do
Have a
it
good one,
again.
Johnny.
See you,
All right.
Johnny.
Thank
Catch
you.
you guys
Bye.
later. Talk
Later,
to you
Johnny.
later.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm
With
just
Fidelity
oversensitive.
and well, with Thinkorswim now with Schwab, you can actually do complex orders, complex
That's what I
short
heard.
with swing
Yeah.
trades. You can actually put in the good till cancels now. But if you are still using Fidelity, if you just put in the entry price, then you can go back in and you can put in your bracket limit and stop. But it does have to, and it used to have to be a two-part process, even with TD Ameritrade. But when Schwab took over, they took that out, so you can actually do the complex orders now, even for short good till cancels.
Yeah, that sounds right. I don't normally do the complex ones for the short because half the time I end up canceling it.
Well, I'm
You can
just
even
moving
do
some money
multiple exits on
specifically for
their
day
complex
trading.
trades.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, you can
Yeah.
do first cancels, OCO, or you can have multiple legs, multiple
Right.
trips in there.
So when you're swing trading with margin, and so you actually have some cost of money there, are you looking for more than a 1-2 normally, or if you get a 0.2, is the margin still so small that it's not a big deal?
Yeah, I don't worry about the margin fees on swing trades. I guess if you were a really savvy trader and you're really trying to, keep track of your money, you would take that into account. But the amount of work it's going to take because you really don't know what your cost of the trade is going to be, because the margin is all based on how long you have that margin for. So if you're in a swing trade for 2 days, the margin cost is going to be way different than if you're in it for 3 weeks. So there's really no way to figure out, should I go for a 1.4? Well, if you go for a 1.4 and it hits in a day, okay, you're way over what you were expecting to make. But if you go for that same 1.4 and it takes you a month and a half to get there, well, is a 1.4 still good enough to make up for that margin? Who knows? So it's just not worth it. It's not, the margin cost isn't going to be so extreme that it's going to eat up, like 0.4 of a 1.4 trade. Their margin's not that bad.
Yeah, at year's end, I've never even really noticed margin being an issue, as far as expense of it, the cost
Yeah,
of it.
it's so minimal that, they're making that money on volume. They're not making it on any one particular person's trade. And day trading, there is no cost to margin. As long as you're out of that trade before end of day or at market close, it doesn't matter if you used your whole margin, there's no fee for it, because all those fees are based on market close costs, whatever, market close margin, whatever you carry overnight.
Yeah, keep in mind, just because Cheryl said the $5,000 number. So let's say you're $5,000, right? If they're charging you, which I think the max right now, like brokers are probably 13 to 17% annually. Even if you're going with a 17% interest rate, which is the higher end probably, but you're still paying $2.32 a day on $5,000 of margin. So if you're hitting a 1.2, my guess is if you're on margin, you're not really like that's to buy the appropriate amount of shares. You're probably making more than, if you last for a month, that's $30. You're probably making more than $30 on your trade, I would assume. So,
but the margins are APY, aren't they?
that's on an annual basis. Yeah, I broke it down.
So if you're
But
paying
it's APY, but
13%
yeah, if you're in it
annually,
for
then
$5,000 margin, it's costing you on the high end $2.32 a day. Where if you hit your 1.2, you're making probably at that point a couple $100. Like, so it's not going to really count too much into it. I don't think.
yeah.
But
And that's only based on the margin too. That's not, you might be in a trade that's costing you, say it's costing you, 45,000. If you have 25,000 in your account, the margin is only that 20,000 difference. they're never going to take 45,000 out of the margin and leave you with your 25K. So you're not paying margin on that full cost of entry. You're only paying it on the margin portion.
Yeah, the one thing I would suggest to you though, Cheryl, is, and it doesn't have to be day one, but something to build toward, would be have the multiple accounts. So have, like you mentioned, you have Disney and Apple, their long-term kind of investments. Have that in a separate account completely, where you're not buying long-term positions on margin. You're just buying trades on margin, right? And then
That was a
otherwise you're going to
problem at
start.
one point too, because Fidelity would switch everything in the account to margin. I had to get them to switch it back. So yeah, by going to Schwab, my day trading and swing trading will be with them, and my investing will be with Fidelity.
Yeah, if you have margin on the account, they don't know if you're in that for a swing trade, day trade, long-term investment. So if that's the account with the margin on it, they're going to just margin everything, and you'll be overbuying shares for your long-term and things like that. That's where margin becomes dangerous. It's not so much in the trade if you're responsible using it. So you have the stops in place, you know how much you're going to take a loss for. But that's where long-term investing, buying shares that you don't have the money for, that's where a lot of people start getting the margin calls for. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, my whole idea with margin is just so that things I don't have to wait for them to settle.
Yep.
So that I can use the money. That was the whole reason for the margin. And so obviously in that case, I'm only doing that with day or swing trading, but by separating the accounts, taking it all the way over to Schwab, it'll do that separation automatically. Yeah. So.
Awesome, guys. All right, so
Yeah,
I think we'll look to wrap it up. Any other last minute questions? Anything else?
No, I
Is
just want to say
Schwab the
thanks to
most?
everybody for their input. Been
Is
great.
Schwab the most popular broker?
I haven't seen a survey, so I can't answer that one definitively. But
I meant for people you typically work with.
International brokers, I think, would be a probably competitor. I think a lot of people use them.
Internationally, don't they use IB, Internet?
Yeah,
Interactive
that's
Brokers?
IB. Yep. I would say they're fairly popular, but some people already had Schwab prior to them buying out TD Ameritrade. TD Ameritrade, I think, was one of the larger ones. I don't know popularity wise which one's bigger or better, but I would say that Schwab right now is probably one of the biggest and most used. Then you have like the Robinhood traders, you have like the Webull apps and things like that too, which I think there's a decent amount. But in terms of security on accounts, I would say Schwab is probably one of the better ones. So take that for what it is.
All right, thank you.
Yep. Well, I would say definitely the top ranked is probably the Schwab right now. Yep. I guess awesome hanging out with you guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow in the day trade room.
Thank you.
See you guys. See you in the morning.